Hey, welcome to another episode of the Asian Spirit Love podcast. How are you doing today? Of course, this is my boy Alex.
How you
My
doing?
name is Eric. So glad to have you join us this time and all the other times. Thank you for subscribing and liking our videos. We really appreciate you joining us all the time. So, coming up, especially for Asian Americans, is a big event. It is Lunar, Chinese, Lunisolar, New Year, whatever you call it. I'm Chinese, so I call it Chinese New Year, but of course there's...
Gong Hei Fat Choi.
yeah, Gong Hei Fa Choi. But of course other ethnicities celebrate it as well. My friend here is Thai,
Yeah.
but he's Thai Chinese, so he still has that
I'm
Chinese side.
1/4
Yeah.
Chinese, which I know some people are like, that's not even that much. That's like a sprinkling of Szechuan pepper. Like, I'm not even the main dish. Like, I'm like, if you had the dish and you're like, I'm gonna add like a teaspoon of soy
A little
sauce.
bit of-
to this. Yeah, like just a little Salt Bay action. That's how Chinese I am. But I still love being Chinese.
Yeah,
because
of
even
course.
though
It's
I'm
part
not
of your heritage.
Yeah, even though I'm not like a big part, like I'm not even half, but even that 1/4, that little smidge Salt Bay sprinkle of Chinese, I still consider it valid, and I'm still gonna celebrate. So we are gonna celebrate
Yes.
New Year's because last New Year's sucked, and last year's sucked in general for a lot of people. I know for you guys too. You're like, oh man. So whether you are Black, Latino, Middle Eastern, Asian, Caucasian, my friend's so funny. He's like, "Oh, you're Caucasian. You're from the land of Caucasus." Like, really intense. You can still celebrate. I encourage you to still celebrate Chinese New Year because it has some amazing traditions, some amazing customs. It's supposed to give you good blessings for the new year.
Yeah, of course.
So I want this year to go good. You know, prosperity financially, spiritually, emotionally. So I'm doing it all up. Gonna do some spicy hot pot, some mushrooms for prosperity. They said if you do some lettuce, some type of lettuce, Chinese lettuce, it's good for money. It attracts money. So I'm gonna do all that,
Yeah.
everything. Got some Chinese lucky candy too. Everything.
Yeah, well, just like Ronnie Cheng said in that one clip of him, like Chinese Asian people love money. That's the main thing, right? Like you bless people during the new year to make more money.
I
That's
gotta get some more shmoney, you
Yeah.
know, so I can afford some red bottoms. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
well, red envelopes for red bottoms, right? Yeah, but,
Exactly.
well, here's the question. So, say you didn't celebrate properly, you didn't do all the customs, would you still be blessed with good luck? It's kind of like praying, right? Like, if you don't pray for good things, maybe good things won't happen. That's why you make sure to pray.
Well,
So
you know, it's
same
all
with-
about manifesting. You know what I'm saying? I want to manifest. I feel like Chinese New Year is just another way to manifest prosperity because I think that like we don't celebrate every day our happiness or what we want in life. So if we're able to celebrate Chinese New Year's, it's a way to manifest more prosperity into our life, which I think is a beautiful thing. And also on today's subject, we're going to talk about the fact that there's a data that shows that most people in this day and age, especially the younger generation, both our generation, millennials and Gen X, are actually losing their traditions and customs, which is crazy because especially being Thai, you're being Chinese, right? We're not just being you are Chinese. He's just doing kung fu everywhere. It's so important that we maintain our traditions because
course,
our
yeah.
parents, like, you know, they gave us this knowledge, this wisdom about who we are culturally so we could pass it on. And the reality, unfortunately, is that a lot of people around our age and younger, especially younger, are choosing to not pass on their knowledge and their wisdom of their culture. So we're all going to turn into like, I don't know. Like if I lose my Thai culture, I don't know who I am anymore. I feel like my Thai culture is such a huge part of who I am.
Yeah, it is. It's your identity. So it's a shame that a lot of people. I don't think it's anything new. Like I know people my age and even older that don't speak any Chinese. They don't eat Chinese food. They don't really celebrate any customs. But it's kind of a mixed mismatch because or mixed match because some people they don't speak Chinese but they love Chinese food and the cultures. Some of them they speak Chinese but they're not really into the culture. So it kind of like it's not all one. It doesn't all go hand in hand. It does in a way that it's all part of the culture. But some people pick and choose whatever fits their life. Like for me personally, I try to do it all. Right, speak the language, eat the food, celebrate holidays, customs, other traditions, the folk religion, stuff like that. You know, praying to the deities. So it's all part of the traditional culture. But then again, people might say that even in China or other parts where Chinese diaspora lives, even then it's getting kind of watered down. Nobody really fully celebrates the old traditions, but whatever it fits your lifestyle. So if you think that maybe this aspect doesn't really suit your needs, or it's not convenient, whatever in your lifestyle, and you don't need it, then you don't have to do it. It's not like you have to do everything by the book, right? So just whatever you want to absorb and want to participate in, that's good. But of course, for someone like me, I want to do as much as possible, just to maintain the culture, and it makes me feel more proud of my heritage.
I think that to be honest, it's shameful to call yourself Asian and to not want to connect with any part of your culture.
Yes, yeah.
It's like you're just trying to be white. And I support and love my white friends, but if you're not white, stop trying to be white. And I know it's very controversial, but I know a lot of you Asian people, again, like, you don't have to know the language. Like, I don't know my Thai language fluently, but I support my culture and I support my customs, and I want to learn more.
Yeah.
But if you're in a situation where you're hating on your culture, you're saying, "Oh, I don't want to be part of it at all," you're kind of supporting wanting to just like be white.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, like it's horrible, because especially with all the Asian hate crimes that's going on right now, we have to learn how to support our culture and be proud of being Asian or Asian American, which we are. We're born here, we support being in America, but we also support being Asian.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing. On TikTok, especially, I showed him a few posts on TikTok. And it's disgraceful. Really disgraceful how people are like, "Oh, I'm not Asian. Don't call me Asian."
Well, just like that clip we showed a few episodes ago with that girl getting mad that people asking what type of Asian she is, and just like totally breaking down and crying. I was like, what's wrong with that? Like, people ask me all the time, do I just like get all offended and crying? No, like I'd gladly tell them, and
Well, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be offended, because I'll tell you why. Especially if you're Southeast Asian, we're not represented. I'm sorry, like we're represented very like what do you call it? Like very less than an East Asian. So when someone asks me what's my cultural background, I say I'm a proud Thai American, because I love my culture, and I need to feel like we're passing it down. Because again, like, what's going to happen is that if you don't understand your culture at all, or try to understand your customs, you're going to turn your kids into white kids.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You right. Like, you are doing the opposite of empowerment. You are kind of being racist against your own people.
I think after each generation, it gets less and less, right? So, like, our parents who were immigrants, they passed it to us.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the direct line almost, right? But then even us, we're watered down, because we were born here, we speak English, all our friends in school, we're all mixed, and we spoke English with them, so we're not fully immersed into it.
Yeah.
So if we have kids, then it'll be even less, right? It just kind of dwindles down after so many generations. So that's why I try to keep as much as possible, because I know when I do have kids, I won't be able to immerse them as much as my parents did for me, but I'll give them as much as I can.
Do something. I feel like that's important. Still, and again, like, I'm just sorry, like, when we talk about ancestral or indigenous knowledge, why can't I talk to Ray? When we're talking about ancestral or indigenous knowledge, this is so important to Pastor.
Not ancestral. Ancestral.
No, not ancestral. Ancestral.
Okay, yeah.
Ancestral or indigenous knowledge. This is so important. So like my grandmother, I keep on saying this over and over again, but like I love my grandmother's history. Kun Ya Dongjai. So she's a Chinese one. So she escaped from China during the war, and that took some cojones. I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying? Like, to escape from China during the war when you're having bombs and guns shooting at you and just thrown at you, like, that's crazy, right? Like, we can never understand that type of struggle. And she escaped to Thailand, and she married a Thai man. That's why my dad's half Thai, half Chinese, and my mom's full Thai. But she kept a lot of this knowledge about Chinese medicine. That's why I actually do a mushroom page on the side. I showed Eric before, and the reason why I do a mushroom page on the side is because when I was younger, my grandmother always talked to me about TCM, Chinese medicine. So herbs were really like a big part of my life. I remember
ginseng and all that.
Hell yeah, ginseng, some ginger, some tangerine or dried orange peel, some watermelon rind, all this stuff, which is beautiful. And we were brought up on it, you know, and that's how we dealt with colds, that's how we dealt with the flu. And it worked.
No drugs, just holistic traditional medicine.
Yeah. And if you go to like Asia, especially China, like Chinese medicine shops are so prominent, way more than even like drugstores.
Yeah.
You know, and that's so important because we're finding a holistic option to a lot of our issues. But I remember like it was clear as day that I was different when I went to my best friend's house at the time, Daniel Greenwood.
You calling him out?
No, there's nothing wrong. I love you, Daniel.
Yeah.
That was my friend. You know, that's my childhood friend, right? And so I went to his house, and then he got really sick. You know, for some reason, he just got really sick. He had a fever and everything like that. No. And I was like, I didn't realize how Asian I was until I saw him sick. And I'm a very caring friend. You can ask all my friends. I care a lot about them. You know, I'm not like, oh, he died, whatever. You know, just little appreciate bitch. It's just like, no, I care, you know, and I want to be there for my friends.
Yeah.
So I was like, telling his mom, I was like, yo, you got any medicine for him? Because he's not feeling well. Like, we need some dry tangerine peel. We need some ginseng. You know, we need some lemongrass. And she was like, what are you talking about? She was like, we don't have any of that. I'm like, how is he supposed to get better then? You're just going to leave him die, you know? And she was like, she just gave me that look of shock. Like, wow, you are so different than like so many other people, you know? You're clearly an Asian.
Yeah.
And
she's like, what is that? Like, does that even help? Like, what is...
It was so weird. And to be honest, especially being here in America, I was kind of ashamed for a while because she gave me that weird look. You know, they kind of like they got weirded out by the situation. And my friend didn't talk to me for a while. And I realized that, you know, being Asian is clearly different.
So your friend thought you were weird too by suggesting all that stuff?
Yeah. He was like, what kind of weirdo is it? But things like, you know, later on, especially, you know, as an adult, you start to realize how important it was to maintain that knowledge, you know, because like for me too, like I try to take things more holistically than before. And if I didn't have that knowledge, I feel like I'd be in a bad place because I don't know if you guys know, but especially right now here in California, if you are having the flu or have a cold, I went to CVS last week. It was like Armageddon. They took all the cold medicine. So for some reason there was a shortage of cold medicine. So like everyone took it all, right? There was nothing left.
Wow.
There was nothing left. And I was like, wow, you know, like my friend had a cold. I was trying to give him some cold medicine.
Yeah.
He didn't have it. But then I started to realize this ancient knowledge that so many people, especially when I was younger, Americanized people, even though I'm also American, they were like, oh, you're weird, you're crazy. I'm like, I could still use that knowledge. I could make him some ginseng tea.
Yeah.
I could stew some lemongrass soup, you know, with ginger and mushrooms, a healing soup, and make him feel better, probably way better than he would if he took some regular medicine, right?
Yeah.
And that knowledge in those aspects is so important because when it comes to a situation where there's nothing left, you have something special that not everyone has as a person of diversity.
Yeah.
So that's why, not just to me, but to everyone here, I want you guys to know that maintaining your, you know, your culture, your cultural heritage, your traditions is so important because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah, so it's on the same token, like when, you know, when you bring a lunch to school, like the kids will look at, oh, what's that? Like a lot of Asian kids go through that, right? Yeah. And then, of course, you're proud of your food and you love it yourself, but then if you get teased about it, and I think that's what starts the trend where the kid doesn't want to be Chinese or Asian anymore because the kids are picking on him for his food.
Exactly.
And they start eating, you know, hot dogs and hamburgers like the other cool kids.
A lot of Asians do that. I'm sorry. A lot of you younger generation Asians, like, I want you to know this is why, like, you have to change things around because your culture traditions show your empowerment for who you are and your community. So I love what you just said right there. You know, the fact that, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a part of that problem too. I was ashamed of like talking about these like holistic medicinal techniques, right? But yes, so go on. Those people get ashamed, right?
Yeah, and then also a while back, I don't think it's so prevalent anymore, but there's this misguided notion that if you speak another language, even if you were born here, a lot of the parents didn't want their kids to speak their native language because they thought it would give them an accent when they spoke English and they would get discriminated against. That's been kind of debunked now because obviously people can speak multiple languages fluently, but they had this misguided notion before that they would have an accent speaking English and then all the kids would pick on them and it would lessen their chance for a good career and this and that. So that's another reason why a lot of the kids, maybe my generation or older, don't even speak their native language because of that weird thought process back in the day. Yeah. So they only speak English, which is a shame. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're embarrassed of their own culture because it's something their parents didn't teach them. But it is a shame that you know, they, of course they can still go back and learn it, but it's not the same as learning it when you're a kid because you grow up with your own heritage and native language. But I think if the ones who really are in tune with their culture, later on in life, they'll find ways to get back into it. I think some people, maybe they feel regret. Like maybe when they were younger, they were not that into it, or maybe they weren't taught by their parents. Then they get more proud of it later on, and then they'll start immersing themselves more. So
I want to say something really quickly about that, because while you were talking, it brought up some really amazing points for me, because the reality is, like, I think there's a big difference between saying, oh, I wish my parent taught me more of my language, and then someone saying, oh yeah, my language is disgusting, I hate talking it. You know, and I'm sorry, there are a lot of people, especially on TikTok, a lot of Asians that do that, where they are like very ashamed of their language, because they're taught that they have to be as Americanized as possible. And we're a melting pot, so I think understanding your culture, even in the American sense, is so important. But I think there's a big difference, and we have to realize we have to go from what we're not taught and just say like, oh, we're not taught that, but we want to learn it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you say, oh, I don't want to learn any of it because I'm ashamed of it, that's where the problem is.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be one or the other, right? So I could speak fluent Chinese and still be fluent in English. I could be the whitest Americanized Asian person you'll ever meet. That doesn't mean I can't speak Chinese, right? It's not like a scale where, you know, if the whiter you are, the less Chinese you are. You could still be both, right? So I know some people that you wouldn't even think, right?
If you speak, I mean, if you're intelligent, it doesn't mean that you're white.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the major thing, is that people assume that, like, if you speak eloquently or you're, you know, you speak a certain way, that you're just automatically white. You can, like you said, you can still speak fluent Chinese.
Yeah.
And talk in the accent, especially if you come from the Midwest. I see so many Midwestern Asian people, and I'm like, they be on real hard on their southern accent, you know? But they're still Chinese, and they're still proud of their culture, and I think that's really important. But again, like I said before, like, if you hate your culture, there's a big difference between people who hate their culture and people who don't know their culture. You know, some people just don't know, because like you said, some parents didn't teach us about our culture as much, so we don't know too much, but we're willing to learn, right? Whereas some people, where they're teaching them, but they're still choosing not to learn, and they're choosing to be hateful against their own culture, that's where the problem is.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too, because when I was younger, I went to Chinese school, and I can speak decently well right now, but the writing part, like that part was so hard when I was young. And I mean, I still have some regret to this day that I didn't concentrate more on that, but I could still learn if I wanted to. So later on in life, you know, the writing, of course, part of my culture I'd want to learn, but I realize it's not essential maybe that I learn it, because it is really difficult. It'll take a lot of time commitment, whereas just learning how to speak will get me, you know, through most situations, right? I can order at restaurants, I could converse with friends and family. If I went to Hong Kong, I could, you know, communicate with people, get around. But writing, you know, that's maybe if I have time, but it is really difficult. So yeah, that's one aspect that I'd say when I was younger I should have concentrated more on, because I know people who are similar to me who did, concentrate more in the writing, and they're actually fluent in the writing itself, and they were born here.
Yeah.
So in terms of people who are born here, I'd say I'm maybe. So the ones who can read and
But you don't hate your culture.
No,
That's
no,
the
no,
thing.
not at all. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. So
yeah.
I mean, that's beautiful right there. Like, that's what I'm saying is that whether you know it fluently or not, you're still Chinese.
Yeah.
You're still beautiful. Your culture's still beautiful. You're still amazing, right?
Oh,
But you're not hating on it.
Oh, no.
That's I really want to reiterate. Like, if you hate your culture for not being white, that's a problem. And I see that a lot, especially people like. They say it as an empowering way, like, oh, don't call me Asian American. I'm just American. No, you are Asian American. You have to be proud of that. But the Asian Americans, or just the Asians in general, who speak fluently or don't speak fluently, you're still Asian. You should still be proud of your culture. You should be proud of who you are, and you're still beautiful.
Yeah.
You're still Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Thai, Hmong, Vietnamese, all Asians.
Yeah.
Indian. There you go.
Well, that goes for any other culture too, like any other country around the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, just be proud of your heritage and be as in tune with it as much as possible. It doesn't mean you can't be American. Like, you can still eat hot dogs and play football and do all the stuff American people do, but you still maintain. So it's kind of like a dual culture, like they say. But what's that term? People have a little bit of each culture. It doesn't have to be split. So if you think like, oh, I can only be half an American and half Asian, like, no, you could be 100% American, 100% Asian, and still have all the aspects of everything.
I'm sorry, you're still Asian.
Yeah, so
no matter what happens, you're still Asian. Be proud of it. Be understanding of it. Understand it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, like you could turn it on and off, right? So just say this weekend I'm going to the football game with a bunch of my American friends of various ethnicities, right? I can turn my Asian Chinese side completely off and act like a total American, watching football, tailgating, doing all this stuff, right? Then after that, I go home, celebrate Chinese New Year with my family, completely Chinese. All the American side is turned off. Yeah, so
I'm gonna put some furikake, some seaweed sprinkles on my popcorn.
That's right.
I've got a whole entire, box of dim sum. We're going to have the Asian American time.
That's true. Although, yeah, I would say that if I do have a barbecue, it would be with sriracha instead of barbecue sauce. Yeah,
I love sriracha.
Yeah.
That's a Thai, that's a Thai thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a Vietnamese thing too, but it originated from Thailand because the Vietnamese man who made sriracha in Vietnam, he was influenced by the sriracha in Thailand, so he took the original recipe from Thailand and he altered it to the Vietnamese taste, but it originally is influenced from Thailand.
Well, the one that we know here in the U.S., though, the chicken... or the name sauce that people that's actually made here. It's the guy was a Vietnamese Chinese American, and he just made it here. So it's using California grown chilies. So they're not actually from Vietnam. Like, you always see it at Vietnamese restaurants, Thai restaurants, but it's actually homegrown American, inspired by Thailand and Vietnam.
I love them all. I love the Vietnamese, Thai. I mean, obviously I'm Thai. By the way, Thai people, we have to be connecting more, because I don't have no Thai friends and I'm Thai. So
you're the only Thai person I know, other than the ones at restaurants.
Thai person most people know. And you guys say that we're prominent. I'm like, no, we're not, because it's this shit right here. You know what I'm saying? I am everyone's only Thai friend for a fucking reason, because there's not a lot of this and we're not connecting as much. So let's connect more. I want that to happen because our culture is so beautiful. So.
Well, sometimes you say, even when you go to Thai restaurants, you try to talk to them, and they're kind of standoffish, or
they're not. I mean, some of our culture is very welcoming, because I mean, Siam, the last mile, you know what I'm saying. But I think American Thai is very different from Thai from Thailand.
Uh-huh.
Oh, by the way, lastly, because we're about to close up right now. But lastly, I just want to talk about, we have to stop hating on Asians that we feel are too Asian, which they're not. But Asians that don't meet the American requirement for what's Asian, such as the non-Wasians. I love Wasians. You guys are still Asian, but you guys are not the only Asian that's out there. So I see a lot, especially on social media, a lot of Asians, and just Asians in our community too, that make fun of people who have slantier eyes, who have more pronounced Asian features, and I hate that.
The Asian people themselves do that?
Asian people who hate on... There's literally this Asian model who has very beautiful slanted eyes, and then people are getting on there oh, she's too Asian to be a model. We don't want that. That look is trying to be racist, trying to say that all Asians have slanted eyes. Asians have slanted eyes.
Yeah,
and that's a
they're
beautiful
being
thing.
racist. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and especially Asian Americans, like you guys, we use the word fob too much, and we make fun of the Asians that have more slanted eyes, have more pronounced Asian features. By the way, they're still Asian. You're still Asian. We have to support them.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to stop hating on our own culture and making fun of people and calling them fobs because they're not. Like, you know, they're Asians like us. We should support them. We should be there for them and stop making fun of them. So that's my last tidbit on this talk, because we are talking about culture and the importance of embracing and maintaining culture. So that's something we can do as Asian Americans, especially on TikTok. I'm on there, you guys. Be nicer to other Asian people. You know, that's really important.
Yeah. On that note, like when you mentioned the model, or remember when people say it are unattractive, like I guess it could be because of societal norms. If as an Asian American, you grew up seeing more bigger eyes, maybe higher cheekbones, more chiseled facial features. So our standards of beauty are different from someone in Asia itself.
Yeah.
Where like here, especially like just say about body types. Like in Asia, they like the stick skinny, like no curves type of, but that's considered attractive. Like, of course, I'm brainwashed too, being born here. I don't find that ultra attractive. Like, I'm not saying they're unattractive. I'm saying, like, for me, if I had a choice, that's not my first choice, but they're still beautiful. So if I'd like, you know, a little bit more meat and you know, more curves, but it's a preference. So I'm not going to say that's an Asian thing that they're so skinny and I don't think Asians are attractive. No, it's just a personal preference. Everyone is different.
Well, I think there's that, and there's putting people down.
Yeah,
I think there's a big difference between that. Like, again, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you are saying, oh, yeah, stop being a fob, you're too Asian, that's a situation where you're putting someone down, and that's toxic and that's horrible. So that's what I don't encourage. You know what I'm saying? And we have to stop doing that. So
well, it could be kind of they take it back now as a term of endearment. Like some people say, like they're proud to be a fob, right? Yeah, that's right. I just came off the boat, whatever, and then me, I say I'm a wannabe fob, or some people say a fobaby, whereas as what we're talking about earlier, right? Always immersing myself in the culture, eating the food. Like obviously, real immigrants, they know that, you know, I'm born here, ABC, right? American born Chinese.
So we have to show fresh off the boat too, as well. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like you definitely take it in a positive way, which is great, but to be honest, a majority of people are not doing that. A majority of people are putting people down for being what they call as a fob, you know, and that's the problem, is that if not everyone thinks like you. So when I see people using a negative light, you know, putting people down for, you know, for not being American born, or being American born but having slanty eyes, that's where I'm like, that's not cool. You know.
Well, these days the so-called fobs are the wealthy ones. They come here driving like Maseratis and Ferraris and stuff. And the ones who were born here are the broker ones compared to that, right? Like in the old days, maybe the ones who literally came straight from the countryside, that were like farmers before, broke, no education. Like those are the ones that they call the fobs, like derogatorily, right? But the ones now, they're all wealthy, they're educated, they have college degrees, they come here on an H-1B visa. You know, those types are not, you know, the traditional fob that we think of to make fun of.
Well, those
right?
are probably the most well known as like the wealthier.
Yeah, the parachute kids. You know,
but there are some, there are some broke people.
Yeah, of course. The ones
like,
that
my parents,
war.
my mom worked in the flea market, and my dad worked as a dishwasher. So it's not, it's not always the case where they're always wealthy, but there are some that are wealthy, some that are not.
I mean, there's a mix.
There's a mixed bag.
Yeah, but you see the ones, a lot of those wearing Balenciaga and all this,
which is very controversial nowadays.
Maybe that's a bad example, but
No,
just trying to think of it like a luxury brand. Right? You see them wearing decked out in all this nice clothing. It's like, man,
I'm so old school. Like, wearing baby fat.
Sean John.
Yeah, got the rhinestones everywhere.
Lugs.
The big logo on everything, like a billboard. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you like this vlog, which you should, because it's awesome. So we're awesome.
If we do,
you guys are
ourselves,
awesome. We're awesome.
Yes.
So please make sure to comment, like, and follow, as well as share it, because we need some more support. So thank you for all being here, and we'll talk to you guys all later.
Happy Chinese Lunar New Year.
恭喜發財。
恭喜發財。
Bye.